Hello. Welcome to another week of training with Antoinette Engelke from Soaring to Source. How are you all? I hope you had a wonderful New Year. I know I did. It was a lot of fun. And so now we're off to 2023. So excited about that. There's a lot that I think is going to be happening this year for a lot of people. I have a good feeling about 2023. So today we are going to be talking about are you a slave to your genes or not? And a lot of this is going to have to do with the microbiome. So I am going to talk a lot about, some more generalities around the microbiome. Hippocrates said a long time ago that all disease begins in the gut, and he was around, 2,500 years ago, and we're just now looking into this statement of his, and I think we're pretty much proving him to be right that if not all, a lot of diseases do begin in the gut. Something that I talk about all the time is the unbalance within the microbiome, and the formal term for that is dysbiosis. So what that means is there's been an undesirable shift in the microbiome where you have more of the unhealthy microbes than you do. Oh, hi, Happy New Year. Thanks for joining. So I just saw a post pop in. All right, so the dysbiosis is something that if you have it, it's not just hurting your gut, it's also hurting your, it's also been correlated to diseases and, a lot of different diseases. So it is really important that you have a healthy microbiome. I listed on the Facebook group page some of the signs and symptoms that if you have dysbiosis or not, and you're going to want to look at it. There's a lot. I'm not going to go through them all because there's a lot of different signs and symptoms: acne, gas, bloating, chronic fatigue, a lot of sinus infections. These are just some of them. There's a whole list. So you're going to want to go through and see if this is something that's common in you. And if it is, you might really want to consider the fact that you could have an unbalanced microbiome. So just to give you a little bit of facts around the microbiome, it weighs about 3 pounds, and which I find interesting because so does your brain. So, but there's about 100 trillion microbes that should be having a good time inside of you that you're a host for. And of those 100 trillion, there's hundreds of different species, or there should be in a healthy microbiome. So as I've talked about before, diversity is key when it comes to a good microbiome. They are, one of the reasons why is they're very dependent upon one another. One microbe can be producing something that another one needs to produce a vitamin that you need. So they're very dependent upon each other, but they're also very dependent upon us as their host. And that kind of sounds weird being the host for something, but we are. So what are some of the things that the microbes do for us? And I talked a lot in the heart one. When I talked about the heart, there's several things the microbiome does for that. You could go listen to that training. There are there's another training that I did on estrogen and what the microbiome, it's called the estrobolome, and what that does for you as well. What your microbiome has to do with that. It also produces vitamins, vitamin K and vitamin B complex. Those are very two important vitamins that the microbe will produce for you if you have the right ones. It controls metabolism and it also digests your food. So now we're talking about weight control there. We've talked about how they maintain the gut wall. We are going to go into a little bit more details, maybe 3-4 weeks down the road, where we're going to talk a little bit about leaky gut. But that's very important, as well as 70% of your immune system is actually in your microbiome. It's in your gut. And if you don't have a healthy gut, you can't have a healthy immune system if 70% of it is there. So if you're somebody that is getting sick a lot, you might want to look at that as well. And they also produce neurotransmitters. These are crucial for helping you feel calm, to be balanced and optimistic, and to be energized. The neurotransmitters, they help you process your thoughts and process your feelings. Are so important for you. And your microbiome is producing a lot of these neurotransmitters. One of them that it produces is serotonin. And a lot of people don't know this, but 95% of your serotonin is produced in the gut. Serotonin is responsible for, depression. And So for me, I'm actually wondering how many people are on antidepressants and all they need to do is really fix their microbiome and maybe possibly they can get off of some pharmaceuticals. Wouldn't that be cool? So, so as you can tell, the microbiome does so much for us, and all it asks in return is that we give it a healthy environment that they can thrive in. That's it. How simple is that, right? So, and if we give them this environment, we're talking weight loss. I lost 40 pounds and I've been able to keep it off for 3 years. I've never been able to keep my weight off for 3 years. And I always end up, creeping right back up. I'm not doing that. And it's so exciting for me. And I know it has to do with a healthy microbiome. The mental focus that I talked about, the emotional stability that it gives you because of the neurotransmitters. So it's helping you with stress. And there's a lot of things that I talk about that help with stress, but the microbiome does this as well. And you can have a healthier immune system, which means you're not getting sick so much, so you're not going to be missing work, and that type of thing. So there's a lot of things, like I said, that it does for us. And I want to give you some kind of cool facts too that it does, because I've talked about, I believe I've talked about that my program. It's a 70-30 rule. So 70% you need to be following the plan, and 30% you can actually cheat. So that's kind of a cool thing. And the reason why you're able to do that is because the lifespan of a microbe is only 20 minutes. It's a very dynamic environment, and it can change very quickly. Within 24 hours, your microbiome can change for the negative based on maybe an illness, based on stress, based on bad eating. So within 24 hours, it can shift pretty quickly. The good part is that it can also shift for the positive within a couple of weeks. So let's say I get sick and I know that my microbiome is going to be completely off by the time I've gotten better and gotten over the sickness. I know that I have to rebalance my microbiome because I understand that, and I only have to really be strict 100% on the diet for 2 weeks. That's it, because now it's rebalanced again. And the reason why I can do that is because I've already gone through the whole program. I try and go through it at least minimum once a year, going through the whole program to make sure. And then that way, when things are happening, or I've had a very stressful week, or whatever has happened, I know that if I stick to the program 100% for 2 weeks, boom, it's back. It's good. So that's a really good thing. I think it's a good thing. All right. So I also want to talk about a really cool field. It's called epigenetics. And this field is studying, they study how genes host genes can be turned on and turned off. I'm sure you know this, but you have 23,000 genes that were given to you by your parents. And but what you may not know, and this is kind of freaky. I don't know. You tell me. But your microbiome, this little 3-pound community that lives inside of you, has 3 million genes. That's 150 genes to your one gene. So how much control would the microbiome have on epigenetics? How much control does it have to be able to turn on or turn off a gene? Now, they have actually started doing studies in this, and they have found that there's a certain molecule, that a certain microbe that you don't want to have in your body. It can produce this molecule, and this molecule can actually turn on a gene that you don't want to turn on. So that's not a good thing. But on the positive side, in animals, they've been able to take a very pristine animal that has no microbes in it whatsoever, and they've been able to introduce a microbiome to it, and they've been able to turn on a host gene with doing that. And so they've been able to do some really cool studies to see that there is a possibility that our microbiome has an effect on genes turning on and genes not turning on. So if you're like me and you have something in your family tree that you don't necessarily want that gene to be turned on, and all you have to do is make sure that your microbiome has a healthy, thriving environment to live in, and that it's diverse. It's simple to do. I say do it. At least I know that's what I'm doing. So if you do want to learn more about this, learn more how individually this can work for you, just click on the link and you can have your free discovery call with me. Love to talk to you about the microbiome or maybe even heart math, because stress, like I said earlier, has huge impact on your microbiome as well. And we are going to have a training on stress in the microbiome. So let me know if you want to talk. I'd love to talk to you. And you have a wonderful week. Next week, we are going back to the brain. So we're going to go back to thoughts, and it's going to be really exciting. So thanks again for joining, and you have a wonderful week.